In this tutorial, we're going to focus on the next sub-assemblies of the cylinder head assembly, including the camshaft bushing assembly and the camshaft retainer assembly. In addition to that, we're going to troubleshoot and fix some issues with assembling. Welcome to the Learn It channel. Let's continue working on our V8 engine. So the first thing we're going to do is go all the way to the end of our timeline, and we're going to remove this cylinder head assembly. So again, right over here, we have copied and pasted and then joined. I'm just going to remove those in our timeline. Just select them, delete so that they're gone. We're just going to focus on the one cylinder head assembly. And then when it comes time to, as explained in the previous tutorial, we are going to pattern it around to the other side so that we don't have to repeat all the work that we have just done. Now we're working within the cylinder head assembly, so let's make sure to activate it and then we can expand it. So far we have worked on the cylinder head, but now we're going to work on the camshaft bushing assembly. And this is in fact an assembly made up of the cap half and the block half. So let's just go right ahead, and in our subassembly here, we're going to right click and go to new component. Next, let's just go ahead and rename this our camshaft bushing assembly. Once that's been created, it has been automatically activated. Again, this is something that some of you might have to be careful of. We just created a new component here under our cylinder head assembly, but we also had the check mark activate already checked. And so that activated the camshaft bushing assembly, and I'll just expand the browser so we can see that. But if you didn't have that checked, it would still be, the active component would still be the cylinder head assembly. So just make sure that you've activated the proper subassembly or component or whatever the case may be. Now, although these are two different components, the cap half and the block half, they're exactly the same dimensions. And it's very easy to create this with using one sketch and then creating individual components based off of that sketch. So this is called a master sketch. With the camshaft bushing assembly active, we can just create a new sketch. Actually, before that, let's go right click and isolate. Again, that hides everything else so that we're not unintentionally making relationships with other components. Let's go to create a sketch. I'm just going to go to the home view, and we're all over the place over here. So let's make sure our original origin is on. This home view over here, we don't want to create it based off of the cylinder head assembly, but we want to create it off of this master or world origin. So let's just click right there. Now you might be asking, well, why is the origin different? Well, again, this is based off of the cylinder head assembly, which was created on an angle. And so that's why that origin is on an angle itself. But we want to create it based off of this. That's fine. We don't have to worry too much about this. We're just going to create this particular sketch on the world origin. And again, it really doesn't matter. In fact, we could create the sketch on the origin of the cylinder head assembly as well, but we want to get into that. You can try that on your own if you'd like. But I'm just going to zoom on in here. We've got, actually no, this will probably be the exact same problem that you hit. So let's just do this together. I'm going to undo all the way back to this. I'm just going to go create a new sketch, and we can create it right on our local origin, create it on the YZ plane in this instance. So even though this says our ZX, that's based off of the world origin. Anyways, let's just pick this. It doesn't really matter. Now we can create it right here. In fact, if we turn on the cylinder head, you can see that our cylinder head, the origin, the local origin for that is spot on. So again, this kind of helps. It just puts things into perspective. But basically, we want to create the bushing right here. So I'm going to just press P for project, and I'm going to pick this first geometry right there. I could actually pick the entire face or just the edge. If I just select the edge, it will make sure to project that edge right where we want it. Very good. I'm just going to go finish sketch for now. Let's expand this, go back to sketches, turn on that sketch or reactivate it, go into edit mode again. And I'm going to hide the cylinder head at this point. So now we've got the basic shape of our bushing. And in fact, I am going to create the full profile of the bushing. So I'm just going to hide this, turn it into a construction line type by pressing X, create a solid line type circle all the way around. Now this should correspond to the outer diameter of our bushing that's on our drawing. So to verify that, create a driven dimension. D for dimension, grab our outside diameter and create driven. So we can compare that 0.375 is exactly what we see on the drawing. Now I can create the ID or inside diameter, and this is going to be 0.25. And then we have a split line running from side to side. Now this is the nice thing, we already have an endpoint there, so we can just go endpoint to endpoint. And now we've got these two different profiles for each of the bushing, each half of the bushing, the block half and the cap half. So there we go. In our sketch, you should see something just like what we have on our screen here. Next, we are going to extrude. I'm just going to extrude one at a time. Let's do the block half first. We can go in either direction. It really doesn't matter. Just keep it uniform. This is going to go 0.25. And here's the thing. We've activated the camshaft bushing assembly, so we need to make a new component. Let's go OK. Now, if we look at it, under camshaft bushing assembly, we have the master sketch. And then we have component 21, and we can rename this our block half. Very good. Let's activate or make our sketch 1 visible again. We can grab the extrude and we can bring this on over 0.25. Let's create a new component. And this is going to be called our cap half. Very good. Let's hide our sketch now. And we've got this beautiful looking camshaft bushing assembly. So again, although these are the exact same shape and everything, the exact same dimensions, they are in fact differently named. So we want to make sure to name them differently within our assembly. Now we want to just chamfer these. It says OD, ID, and split faces to be ground after splitting, but we can go ahead and chamfer these as well. Let's just add that. These are really small. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. And the other side as well. And we can just call these really small little 5-thou chamfers. And you can see I didn't get all of them, unfortunately. So just go back to your chamfer and hold down Control or Command on a Mac. And there we have it. Now these bushings are bronze, so make sure to go to the camshaft assembly, right click, physical material, and we're just going to drag and drop brass, I should say, in this instance. So there we go. Camshaft bushing assembly is complete. Let's lock these together, assemble, and we can go to as built joint. Just pick both of those. Rigid is our type, so now they'll move together. Perfect. Let's just go revert position. Make sure our cylinder head assembly is active. Very good. And then we can actually activate our cylinder head assembly. And now we've got this floating camshaft bushing assembly 1. Let's just join this into location. So joint, and I can grab this face, which will enable the center point to be selected. And we can do the same thing. Grab this face and the center point, and it should lock it right in. Of course, we need to flip it right now and go OK. Beautiful. So now this is perfectly placed. I can hide that joint at this point. I can hide this joint down there. Of course, we can rename them. But now what we can do with our subassembly active, I can go duplicate with joints, grab the camshaft bushing assembly, and we wanted to duplicate the entire subassembly. Yes, that's fine. And pick the exact same corresponding points on this face. So in order to do this, hold down Command on the face, and that will help us to pick the center point. There's 1 assembly, 2 assemblies, 3 more assemblies. And now under our cylinder head assembly, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. No problem. That's looking really, really good. Now we've got these other joint symbols on our screen. So I'm just going to click them and press V. We could rename them under our relationships and joints if we wanted to, but just to speed up the process at this point, we won't necessarily do that. But I would encourage you to do that in order to keep everything organized. So there we have it, cylinder head all the way to the camshaft bushing assembly. Okay, just before we get to the next step, I'd like to send out a huge shout out to our sponsor, PCBWay. They've got incredible services. I'd just like to highlight one of them today. Let's go on over to PCB design. Here you can see you can create professional electronic designs for your next project. This is amazing. You can upload your design here. You can get quotes. You can get help from professional engineering teams, end-to-end development, fast turnaround, manufacturing advantage. And note some of the turnkey electronic design services. You have PCB layout, PCB design, and mechanical and enclosure design. Some pretty amazing things over at PCBWay. Please check them out. I've been working with them for a year and a half now and have really enjoyed it so far. Thank you, PCBWay, for your support. Hope you guys check them out. So now what comes next? Well, we've got the camshaft retainer assembly. So let's just go ahead and do that. Right click. We can make sure that this is active, which it is, and then right click, new component. And this is going to be called our camshaft retainer assembly. Beautiful. And the camshaft retainer assembly has two different types of components. It has the actual camshaft rod bearing cap, and then it has the screws to go with it. So let's just focus on that camshaft rod bearing cap first of all. We can do that by right-clicking our assembly and creating a new component. So let's go ahead and call it our camshaft rod bearing cap. Very good. And let's start off with that. We can hide the bushings as well, just so they're not in our way. Very good. And I think what's easiest at this point is just to base it right off of our cylinder head. So I'm going to create a sketch and I'll create it right on here. There we go. So now we have reoriented a little bit, but this is our first profile. I'm going to go P for project, grab our other profile there. So these two are now visible. In fact, I think P for project on this side as well, just so you can see it a little bit better that we're selecting that geometry. That's great. This internal geometry I don't want. So I'm just going to window select and delete it. So now this is one closed profile. Do the same thing, window select, delete it. That's another closed profile. And I am just going to connect these two lines. At this point, we have three closed profiles. Let's just use X on our keyboard to turn those into construction lines. So now we have one closed profile here. So you can see a little bit better of what I'm talking about. We've just created this chain of closed profiles and no center holes at this time. So let's go finish sketch. And now we can extrude. Let's go up on our drawing. We can see that this is 0.3 inches. Very good. Next, we can cut out this radius right there. So we can create a sketch right on that face. Let's zoom on in. And we don't have the center point. That's fine. You can just go P for project, grab that arc, and we should end up with a center point. At this point, it's very easy to make a corresponding arc. We don't even have to put a dimension in. Remember that this is now a driven dimension. But regardless, that is looking really good. And at this point, we can just extrude this all the way through. In fact, instead of going to a distance, I'm going to go to object and pick that face. Very good. Next, let's go create sketch. And I am going to create it right on that face. Now, we could define these center holes, but what's even better is if we just take the geometry that's already there and project them onto our current sketch. So remember, our sketch right now is made on this face. I'm going to hide the bearing cap and I'm going to project these two holes. So P for project, and look at as I project just something like a chamfer or even the hole itself, but I think the chamfer is a little bit safer in this instance. I'm going to project both of those chamfers. And again, this is just a very easy way of doing this. That way we don't have to define extra dimensions or geometry. Right now we've got a warning that says, well, it's not visible, so we just have to make it visible. And there you can see what I've done. Created the sketch on that face, and now we've created the center points for our counterbore holes. Very good. So there they are. Very simple. Now we just create our counterbores with our hole tool. We can go to counterbore. And again, this is all defined on our drawing. Distance, we're going to go to all. Of course, we don't want to go through the entire thing. So I'm just going to hide the cylinder head. And wow, we don't even need to do that. We can just go objects to cut and make sure that cylinder head is turned off. We don't want to cut all the way through. And in fact, you can see the results. If I leave that on, it cuts all the way through. We don't want to do that. We want to stop and not do anything to the cylinder head itself. Whenever we can use all, that's the best. On our drawing, what that ends up doing is it ends up saying through, or it says to go all the way through to a certain distance. And that's the benefit of using all for our extents. Now the counter bore itself on our drawing is 0.275, and this goes down 112. And the through hole diameter is 0.129. So that's it. Again, if you're looking for these drawings for all of our paid members, you can download them for free, titanium level and above, or you can purchase the drawing package outright. Right? You can take a look in the description below for that link. So there we go. There is our bearing cap right there. Now the easiest way of going about this is the camshaft retainer assembly. So I want to finish the assembly before I start patterning it, or before I create duplicates of this assembly down the line of the cylinder head. So here I'm just going to, well, let's just isolate the camshaft retainer assembly, and we can add the screws at this point. So let's go to the next sheet on our drawing, and it has the part number there in McMaster. So let's go to McMaster. Very good. And let's go to just our search menu. Because it has the part number, this is very easy to search. There's our number, enter, and we can just move it on over here. And we want to get the 3D step file. So download, make sure our camshaft retainer assembly is active. We don't want to put the screws into the cap, making the cap an assembly. We already have an assembly, so we want to put the screws right there. So we can just download. Excellent, we can go OK. And at this point, we can join it into location. So just select the joint tool, grab the bottom edge of that screw and the center of that counterbore hole, perfect. And we can go to duplicate with joints, grab that screw, and then joint it to the center of this again. So instead of finding that specific center point or snap point first, select the face that you want it normal to go to, and then grab the snap point. It's a whole lot easier to work with. So there we go. The camshaft retainer assembly is done. Let's make the cylinder head visible, actually the entire assembly visible. Very good. At this point, I'm going to hide those joints because I don't want to have to hide all of them later on. The cap itself is aluminum, so I'm going to right click and we're going to go to physical material and just drag and drop the aluminum. Perfect. And now we want to pattern this down the line. So go up to assemble, duplicate with joints, grab our retainer assembly. Actually, we can grab this. Sorry, let's go back here, assemble, and go to duplicate with joints, and our retainer assembly should be able to be selected, but it's not letting us. So instead of doing that, don't worry, sometimes these things happen. The exact same thing that we're going to do, I'm just going to copy that retainer assembly one, and we're going to paste it. Let's go OK. I'm going to make 2 more copies and 2 more pastes by selecting both of them and going paste. This is just a workaround. Sometimes things don't work for us in Fusion. So we're just going to copy and paste rather than use duplicate with joints. That's very simple. Let's just go to number 2, and I'm going to drag this on over to the second spot location. Number 3, I'm going to drag it on over, and then click on number 4 and drag it on over. And now we can put them specifically in the location we want. Now, this actually, I see that it's not actually joined, and that's probably why it wasn't letting us use the duplicate with joints. Okay, so in other words, let's just get rid of those copies that we made. And now if I join this, let's go to joint. Okay, our first snap point is going to be the center of the cap and then the center of the cylinder head. And this should, if we go OK, perfect. At this point, now if we go duplicate with joints, yes, now we can pick the whole thing because it has a reference joint location. So that makes more sense. And it actually is helpful when there's a mistake or something's not working, because it's oftentimes not the computer's fault or Fusion's fault. It's mostly the user's fault. So I can vouch for that time and time again. We're just not perfect, everyone, and we make mistakes all the time. So there we go. We've got the camshaft bushing assembly. We've got the retainer assembly. Now we can just go up to our top level assembly and we can go to show all components and we can make it active as well. And now we have the cylinder head with a few different components and assemblies added to it, which are looking great. Now, next we have the camshaft. We have the valves, we have the compression springs, we've got the rocker arm assembly all coming up, and then we have the exhaust system. It's getting more and more exciting, so stick with us. Please hit that like button if you've learned anything. Make sure to subscribe so that you can stay up to date with follow-up tutorials. And at this point, we just wanted to send out a huge shout out to all of our Patreon and YouTube members. Thank you so much for your ongoing support and encouragement. Thanks for learning with the Learn It channel. Can't wait to see you at the next tutorial.